this is Jerry Gray again with another quick tutorial. This tutorial is actually for my heads and hands class. So this week we are actually going to do a gouache painting, a black and white gouache painting of hands, and I just wanted to do a quick demo. I don't know how much of this I'm going to get done, but I at least want you guys to have an idea of how to apply the gouache paint. I know for some of my students, you probably haven't even picked up this medium, so it's good to have a good understanding or at least a start of how to apply the paint and get a complete painting done with this medium called gouache. So just real quick, I'm just going to go over some of the materials that you're going to need. So of course, just very early in, you're going to need water. So I have some water that's here. I also have an eyedropper that's here just in case I want to add more water to my paint. I actually started the drawing already with my Prismacolor erase pencil, which is light gray. And then I also have my palette already mixed with different grays or degrees of grays. And then of course you're going to need just some paint brushes, watercolor paint brushes to do, and that'll be fine. You're also going to need probably some napkins for blotting out, and then also I have some a little sheet of paper that's here just so I can test my paint. You can already see here I've tested some of my paint as well. So what else are we going to need? You're also going to need just a little bit of watercolor paint. So I have some cheap watercolor paint because I want to start with a tone paper. So my paper is actually Arches hot press and it's 300 pounds. Another thing is I normally don't start with a full drawing that's here. The reason why I normally don't start with it is because I normally go in with my watercolor paints and I get all of my values. I probably start with a outline of a drawing and separation, light part and dark part. But I decided to start just a little bit differently. I'm not sure if a demo is probably the time to experiment, but I just wanted to start with seeing my values already in my hand and also seeing my construction in the hand as well. So that's why I'm starting this way. So I did everything with my Prismacolor erase pencil just to get the drawing down and get the drawing out of the way. So with gouache, you guys, another thing that you may want to keep in mind, you need a spray bottle because you want to keep your paints wet that's in your palette that's already mixed. You don't want them to start drying on you. So just a little bit about gouache. Gouache is not the same as watercolor, but it's similar to watercolors. It's a lot more opaque, and which means that you come in with very not transparent layers. You can start with a transparent layer just to kind of block things out, but you're able to build with some opaque layers fairly quickly. So that's what I really do love about gouache. There's traditional gouache, which is more chalky. I'm using more of a newer type of gouache, which is acrylic gouache with Liquitex. It's the brand. I like acrylic gouache. There's something about it that I like, but I have worked in traditional gouache, but I've noticed I'm leaning towards reaching for my acrylic gouache more than my traditional. So just keep that in mind. Whatever floats your boat as an artist, that's what you're going to use. But one thing I love about acrylic gouache, I don't have to worry about too many layers and my paint cracking. If you have traditional gouache, you just want to make sure that you come in with some thin layers, and then probably your last layer is the layer that you want to use for heavier gouache. So just really quick, I just want to talk about different water ratios. So while I'm doing that, I want to activate my paper while I'm talking. So about time I get done talking, it should be dry. So I'm just going to prime my paper and then I'll talk about water ratios with gouache. So once again, I'm just going to prime it with watercolor paint. It's very thinned out watercolor paint because I just want a tone to start with. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this in just to get a tone on my paper. All right, so because it's watered down, that should allow for my paper to activate. So I'm gonna let it dry just a bit, and then I have a tone to at least start my painting. And I'm not working with just white paper. Um, it's okay to have a tone. Like I said, normally I come in with a kind of underpainting with watercolors because it's a little bit more transparent than I come over it with my gouache. So just real quick, just to talk about water ratio. When you're thinking about gouache, you want to think about your water ratio. So you want to think about like a tea consistency. Tea consistency is more of a thinned out, more water, less paint when it comes to gouache. And that's something that you want to start with at the beginning just to kind of separate and block out your values. And then you want to think about a water ratio um, of coffee, which is a lot thicker than tea, and then also a water ratio of milk, which milk is thicker than coffee. And then you want to think of the water ratio of cream, which cream is thicker than milk. And then you also want to think about the water ratio of butter, which butter is basically, it's just pure gouache, no water is added to it, and you're just coming in with just that paint on top. So butter is normally the last layer that you want to think about, and you want that to be the last because you don't want your gouache to run into any type of breakage or cracking, especially if you're using traditional gouache. If you come in with a heavy layer of gouache, then you can run into some cracking in your painting. So just keep that in mind that if you're going to use just kind of pure gouache with no water ratio, then that needs to be a last layer. And you don't want a lot of that layer. So you're kind of thinking about the term fat over lean, which is the oil painting term, but it's kind of the same idea when it comes to gouache. So that's just a little bit of water ratio that I think is important for students to know. So now that I think my paper is still kind of getting into what it needs to get into, but I'm gonna let it dry just a little bit more. Another thing, make sure you tape off your border and make sure the tape is flush to your paper. I hope I flushed mine's good enough, that way I don't have any bleedage, but if it is, then it just happens. Alright, guys, so in class I will talk a little bit more about gouache, but that just kind of gives you a background. For the rest of the time, I'm just going to get quiet, that way I can get the painting process down. So I'm going to start with a thin layer just to kind of get color where I need to get it, or values where I need to get it, and then I'll work into fleshing this hand out to the best of my ability. So I will see you guys after the painting process. Alright guys, although I am not done, but this is about how long I have for just this demo. Once again, this is a demo. You at least get to see the start of it and where I'm going with it and how much time that this actually does take. Only had a little bit of time, but I just want you guys to get an idea of what to do, how to start it, how much time it takes. Although I'm going to time lapse this, it definitely does take a lot of time to render out, but you get an idea of it, and that's what's important. And that's all a demo is. I just don't have time to finish it, but you can see where it's going. And once you take that tape off, it looks so nice. But I just wanted to talk about, just still remember your light logic principles. Gouache takes a little bit of time, even if you're just trying to blend. I still have a lot that I need to do, but I got enough down. Still some, I need to still get in highlights and still blend out some more things. So it's even more and more layers that I would have to put down. But you kind of get an idea, although these are not finished layers, but they're very close to being finished. I still have to work out some more light logic and some more value distribution, but it's a lot close to what it needs to be for a demo. Once again, this is a demo. I just want you guys to get an idea of how gouache work, how to start it, how to mix it, how to paint it, how to put it down. I do blend a lot, and really what I would tell you guys is probably simplify it at the beginning. I was getting a little too detailed too soon, but you still get the idea because I'm just trying to move fast through the process. So this is gouache, and this is our black and white painting. And this is just a quick demo for you guys, and I definitely will try to finish most of my demos very soon. But this gives you an idea of what to do and where you need to go with this quick demo. So I will see you guys in the next demo. Bye.